Hello everyone, welcome my YouTube channel. Forecast by the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The occupiers will be hit with BRV units of the Ukrainian rocket artillery continue to launch attacks on the occupiers using the Ukrainian 220mm multiple launch rocket system BRV, Storm. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine demonstrates the system in action. Source: official media outlet of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine Armia informed details. The military claims that modern digital fire control and information exchange systems considerably cut the time between assuming the position and opening fire. BRV also protects the Ukrainian troops with its armor. Quote, "Thanks to this rocket system we can move in the main direction without leaving the vehicle, which was not possible before. We do not need radio stations to transfer data and exchange commands. We do not need to leave the vehicle, pull out a compass, use it for navigation since all this can be done in the cab. Russia's military would be annihilated if Putin used nuke in Ukraine. While Putin has not made any new nuclear weapons threats recently over Ukraine, NATO and Western countries are clearly worried about what the Russian leader might do next. And that means they are making preparations and issues what could be considered their very own real threats. President Vladimir Putin's army would be annihilated by a non-nuclear military response from the West if he were to use a nuclear weapon in Ukraine," a top EU figure predicted on Thursday. Putin cannot afford bluffing over nukes, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said in remarks at the opening of a diplomatic academy in Brussels. Putin and various Kremlin officials have alluded to Russia's nuclear stockpile and threatened dire military consequences when warning the West to keep out of the invasion of Ukraine. Those comments increased soon after Ukraine started its startlingly successful counteroffensive, which exposed major flaws in Putin's conventional military operation. On September 21, as he announced his mobilization of reservists to the battlefield, Putin alluded to his nuclear stockpile and said Russia would use all the means at our disposal if the country's territorial integrity were threatened. "This is not a bluff," he said. Referring to this on Thursday, Borrell said, "Putin is saying that he's not bluffing. Well, he cannot afford bluffing. Ukraine's supporters, NATO, the EU and the US, are not bluffing either," Borrell said. "And any nuclear attack against Ukraine will create an answer. Not a nuclear answer, but such a powerful answer from the military side that the Russian army will be annihilated," was his prediction. As an EU figure, Borrell does not control any military force. But in his role he represents member states including France, a nuclear power, and 21 of NATO's 30 members, and has been involved in other aspects of the Western response to the invasion. US officials have seen no signs that Russia is actively preparing to deploy nuclear weapons, as insiders John Haltwenger and Charles R. Davis reported. Strategists have long warned that responding to nuclear attacks with more nukes could cause an escalating conflict with world-ending consequences. Borrell said that the West needs to show complete determination in the face of Russia's aggression. "This is a serious moment in the history, and we have to show our unity, and our strength and our determination. Complete determination," he said. He said that the West must not waver in its support for Ukraine and should continue looking for diplomatic solutions when possible. Pentagon says Ukrainian breakthrough is south made more Russian targets vulnerable to artillery after the rapid advance of Ukrainian forces in the south of the country. More Russian targets have come within the reach of Ukraine's artillery, CNN reported, on October 14, citing a high-ranking representative of the Pentagon. According to the official, Ukrainian forces are continuing to advance on Russian forces in the north of Kherson Oblast. "We have seen gains in the north of Kherson Oblast, now, really the line of advance for the Ukrainians, just north of the village of Mylov, and then extending essentially to the north and west with a number of small towns and villages that the Ukrainians have been able to clear of the Russians," the official stated. The United States is also seeing some gradual progress in the central part of the oblast. The official clarified that this is not about great progress, but partial. Read also. Liberation of Kherson, a matter of time, says Israeli military expert. "We are talking about kilometers," the official clarified. Earlier, the head of Kherson Regional Military Administration, Yaroslav Yanushevich, stated that since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the armed forces of Ukraine had liberated 75 settlements in Kherson Oblast. Read also. Ukrainian forces liberate 29 settlements in Kherson Oblast in October, says General Staff. The head of the Joint Press Center of the Defense Forces of the South Operational Command, Natalia Gumenyuk, reported on October 7 that the area of the liberated territories in Kherson Oblast had increased to 500 square kilometers. Good day to everyone.